The Guiana Space Centre, or more commonly, Centre Spatial Guyanais, is a French and European spaceport near Kourou in French Guiana, operational since 1968. It is particularly suitable as a location for a spaceport as it fulfills the two major geographical requirements of such a site. It is quite close to the equator, so that the spinning Earth can impart some extra velocity to the rockets for free when launched eastward, and it has uninhabited territory to the east, so that lower stages of rockets and debris from launch failures cannot fall on human habitations. The European Space Agency, the French Space Agency CNES, and the commercial companies Arianespace and Azercosmos conduct launches from Kourou. This was the spaceport used by the ESA to send supplies to the International Space Station using the automated transfer vehicle. The location was selected in 1964 to become the spaceport of France. In 1975, France offered to share Kourou with the ESA. Commercial launches are bought also by non-European companies. ESA pays two-thirds of the spaceport's annual budget and has also financed the upgrades made during the development of the Ariane launch facilities. Kourou is located approximately 500 kilometers north of the equator, at a latitude of 5 degrees 10. The near-equatorial launch location provides an advantage for launches to low-inclination Earth orbits compared to launches from spaceports at higher latitude. For example, the eastward boost provided by the Earth's rotation is about 463 meters per second at the Guiana Space Centre vis-a-vis about 406 meters per second at the United States East Coast Cape Canaveral and Kennedy Space Center spaceports, which are at 28 degrees 27 N latitude in Florida. The proximity to the equator also makes maneuvering satellites for geosynchronous orbits simpler and less costly. ELV originally built in the 1960s under the name of CNES. The ELV pad located at 5.236 degrees north, 52.775 degrees west, 5.236 minus 52.775 was designed for the Europa 2 rocket. One Europa 2 was launched from the site before the program was cancelled. The pad was demolished and subsequently rebuilt as the first launch complex for Ariane rockets. Renamed Ella, it was used for Ariane 1 and Ariane 2 and 3 launches until being retired in 1989. It was again refurbished for the Vega, with the first launch performed on the 13th of February 2012. Ella 2. The Ella 2 pad, located at 5.232 degrees north, 52.776 degrees west, 5.232 minus 52.776, had been used for Ariane 4 launches until 2003. Ella 3 has been active for Ariane 5 launches since 1996. This facility is located at 5.239 degrees north, 52.768 degrees west, 5.239 minus 52.768, and covers an area of 21 square kilometers. ELS Soyuz at CSGESA has built ELS at 5.305 degrees north, 52.834 degrees west, 5.305 minus 52.834 for launching Russian-built Soyuz 2 rockets. The first Soyuz launch from ELS was postponed several times but launched on October 21, 2011. ELS is located on the territory of Sinnamary Commune, 27 kilometers from Kourou Harbor. It is 10 kilometers north of the site used for the Ariane 5 launches. Under the terms of the Russo-European joint venture, ESA will augment its own launch vehicle fleet with Soyuz rockets, using them to launch ESA commercial payloads, and the Russians will get access to the Kourou spaceport for launching their own payloads with Soyuz rockets. Russia will use the Guiana Space Centre in addition to Baikonur Cosmodrome. The Guiana location has the significant benefit of greatly increased payload capability, owing to the near-equatorial position. A Soyuz rocket with a 1.7 tons to geostationary transfer orbit performance from Baikonur will increase its payload potential to 2.8 tons from the Guiana launch site. The rocket assembly procedures will differ from ones used at Baikonur. Traditionally, the Soyuz gets fully assembled in horizontal position, then transported to a launch pad and erected for launch. In ELS, the rocket solely is assembled in horizontal position, then transported and erected. A spacecraft is then transported to the pad separately and attached to the rocket. To protect from dust and wind, the launch pad will have a closed gantry. The gantry will be able to move away from the pad for launch. The ELS project is being co-funded by Arianespace, ESA, and the European Union, with CNES being the prime contractor. The project has a projected cost of approximately €320 million, where €120 million are allocated for modernizing the Soyuz vehicle. The official opening of the launch site construction occurred on the 27th of February 2007. Excavation work, however, had previously begun several months beforehand. As of May 2008, groundworks were still continuing, but the flame pit was substantially complete, along with the shell of the Soyuz assembly building. Equipment manufactured in Russia had arrived in French Guiana by July 2008, with Russian technicians performing the equipment installation at ELS. In November 2007, reports emerged attributed to Vladimir Grezdelov, general director of the Mir Company, of thefts from the Soyuz site near Sinomari, which could cause delays to its completion and the first launches. In February 2009, ESA reported from Samara, Russia, that the launchers destined for the ELS were being built. On May 21, 2009, Russian news agency Tatas reported that the first two Soyuz Street to be launched at ELS have been built, tested and prepared for delivery to ELS. On August 25, 2009, the General Director of the Progress Design Bureau Alexander Kiran said that the first launch of the Soyuz Street from the Kourou Space Centre was postponed for the beginning of April 2010. He informed that the first 3 rockets had been built and would be shipped on November 1, 2009 by sea. On September 13, 2010, Spaceflight Now reported that after several delays in the construction of a mobile gantry, the launch pad had been finished, and the first flight of the Soyuz is expected to occur in early 2011. By October 2010, 18 launch contracts have been signed. Arianespace has ordered 24 launches from Russian industry, with the first 2 already delivered to CSG. On January 14, 2011, BBC reported that the Soyuz launch complex will have its qualification review in April, with the expectation for the first Soyuz to lift off sometime between the 15th of August and the 15th of September. On July 1, 2011, Space News reported that after clearance qualification committee, a launch October 20, 2011 seems possible. On October 21, 2011, 2 Galileo IOV-1 and AMP IOV-2 satellites were launched using a Soyuz Street rocket, in the first Russian Soyuz vehicle ever launched from Europe's spaceport in French Guiana. On December 17, 2011, another Soyuz was launched from Kourou carrying the French space agency Pline's 1A Earth imaging satellite, 4 ELISA electronic intelligence satellites, and the SSOT remote sensing satellite for the Chilean military. On December 1, 2012, Pline 1B, twin of the above, was put into orbit by yet another Soyuz. Final assembly building. Astrium assembles each Ariane 5 launcher in the Launcher Integration Building. The vehicle is then delivered to the final assembly building for payload integration by Arianespace. The final assembly building is located 2.8 kilometers from the Ella 3 launch zone. The mobile launch table completes the trip with an Ariane 5 in about 1 hour. It is then secured in place over the launch pad's flame ducts. Launch safety. Fire safety is ensured by a detachment of the Paris Fire Brigade, a branch of the French Army. Security around the base is ensured by French gendarmerie forces, assisted by the 3rd Foreign Infantry Regiment of the French Foreign Legion. Before and during launch windows, CSG facility security is significantly enhanced by anti-personnel and anti-aircraft measures, the exact configurations of which are classified by the French military. All entrants to the launch complex are also subject to checks for proof of permission to enter the facility. The Guiana Space Centre also holds the Isles du Salut, a former penal colony including the infamous Devil's Island. Now a tourist site, the islands are under the launching trajectory for geosynchronous orbit and have to be evacuated during launches. Early launches. The 10th of March 1970, the first Diamond B launched the Dial-Meca and Dial-Wicker satellites. Dial-Meca failed during launch, but it entered orbit with a total mass of 111 kg. Dial-Wicker provided data for about 2 months after launch. Recent launches. The 5th of October 2007, an Ariane 5 GS launched from CSG carrying Intelsat 11 and Optus D2. The 9th of March 2008, an Ariane 5 launched carrying the ATV Jules Verne in preparation for docking with the ISS. This was the first launch of the ESA unmanned resupply craft. The 18th of April 2008, an Ariane 5 launched carrying the INAS-81, Vietnam's first satellite. The 14th of August 2008, an Ariane 5 carrying Superbird 7 for Mitsubishi Electric Corporation and AMC-21 for Cesarmericom. The 20th of December 2008, an Ariane 5 carrying Hotbird 9 and W2M for Eutelsat. The 14th of May 2009, an Ariane 5 carrying the ESA's Herschel and Planck space telescopes. The 1st of July 2009, an Ariane 5 carrying TERRESTAR-1, the heaviest commercial telecommunications satellite ever launched. The 18th of December 2009, an Ariane 5 carrying Helios 2B European military observation satellite used by France, Belgium, Spain and Greece. The 21st of May 2011 to 4:38, an Ariane 5 ECA rocket launched carrying SINT-2 satellite, twice as powerful as Singtel's first satellite SINT-1, which was launched back in 1998. It will provide 20% more transponder capacity and a wider coverage footprint than SINT-1, with C-band and Ku-band coverage of the Middle East, Central Asia, Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia. The 21st of October 2011, a Soyuz 2 carrying 2 Galileo satellites was launched. This was the first launch of a Soyuz rocket at the Guiana Space Centre. The 17th of December 2011, a Soyuz carrying the French space agency Pline's 1 Earth imaging satellite, 4 ELISA electronic intelligence satellites, and the SSOT remote sensing satellite for the Chilean military. This was the second launch of a Soyuz at the Guiana Space Centre. The 13th of February 2012, the Vega, which was designed in Italy, lifted off at 10 o'clock GMT on its maiden voyage. The launcher released 9 satellites into orbit, 2 Italian satellites and 7 picosatellites. The 5th of July 2012, the unmanned Ariane 5 rocket took off to send an American communications satellite and European weather monitoring spacecraft into orbit. Liftoff occurred at 17:36 EDT. The 30th of August 2013, Indian Space Research Organisation launched the Advanced Multiband Communications Satellite GS-87. It was 17th Indian satellite, launched from ESA with Ariane. Future launches: October 2018, James Webb Space Telescope.